We're gonna get started here in just a few seconds. Okay, all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. Approval of the agenda tonight with flexibility.
I so move, I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes for November 21, 2023.
I move the minutes as submitted in writing.
Second?
I'll second. I wasn't here.
Oh, you abstained?
Yes, I am. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And he
I
abstained.
And we have only two of us here that can,
Clerk treasurer?
I think, yeah.
Vouchers being passed around in the amount of $52,603.03.
I disagree.
Okay.
52,636.03.
So I wrote it wrong on here.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Your document's right. 52,636.03. And with your permission, I'll move the approval of that. Once you gentlemen have seen this, I'm going to sign it, send it around. Because I've just looked at it.
Okay,
You guys get done, I'll move, I can move it when you can move the approval of that amount. You're still on that one? Maybe.
thank you. Then we have a motion to approve.
52636.03.
I'll second John's motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance 2023-09, an ordinance for the 2024 salary for elected officials, town manager, full-time and part-time employees. I entertain a motion.
Is this second reading?
I move to waive the reading of the ordinance known as 2023-09 in its entirety.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll take a motion to approve the ordinance.
Since I'm not going to be on council, I would prefer one of you.
I'll make the motion to approve
Okay.
the ordinance. I just have a couple questions after we get
I
this.
will too.
You made the motion?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion?
Just a quick discussion. I heard some stuff on the last meeting about taking out some of the ranges. And did we do that?
We did.
And
It
what
was-
was the reasoning behind that? I guess I didn't catch all that discussion.
May I speak to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason that was done is because there were ranges in the initial draft for elected officials, and you can't have that. Like, you cannot have a range for a council person or who's elected or a clerk treasurer that's elected. You have to have an item specific, because once an elected official receives a salary, that's never going to, by state law, cannot be reduced. So you shouldn't put a range in there. Everything else was ranged. And then I'll have an issue as well once you're done.
So that was my question. I guess I just wanted to make sure that that was the case. And I guess the only other question I have in that situation would be the clerk treasurer, after they receive their certification, that would be a slip up, which obviously they can't go backwards from that. So that would be fine in that light then, John, is that correct?
I've had no problem with that, because that's individual and specific to the person that's elected to that office. So if a person comes in, for example, had degree work that I did, okay?
Right.
I would have qualified for that even though I didn't, because I had more than that.
Right.
But another person could come in and lack that and draw the other salary, and if they went ahead and got certification, then we get that bump up.
I'm fine with, that's sufficient for me, my question, so.
Mr. President, I'd like to speak to an issue in that, if I may.
Sure.
So I'm, where's Timothy? Sitting right here. Okay. So I didn't see anything in here, and now, I've got bad eyebesight. Everybody should know
No, it's
that.
not in there.
there's nothing in there about Roth.
Yeah,
Let's talk
Ken
about
and
that.
Angela went back and checked the past, and this is not the answer necessarily, but past ordinance, salary ordinance hasn't included any mention of the Roth IRA in them. We've been doing the Roth contribution. We'll continue to do that. Now, my reasoning last time, I was under the impression that there was no match, and there is, so, and I learned that tonight from Angela. I feel like if you're otherwise inclined to pass this ordinance, you should pass it, and we can amend to include Roth in January or whatever, but I mean, you've been doing it for how many years? For a while.
8 or
without
10
it being-
probably.
Without it being mentioned in the ordinance, so.
It's not specified in the ordinance, it's just mentioned the benefits, the compensation plan, so.
Well, first of all, the Roth is not subject to getting a match. Step one. And the reason I say that,
That makes me feel better about not having it in there then.
okay, that's not the case because the match component comes from the first 10% component
Okay.
that's then subject to, tax,
Pre-tax.
to pre-tax, yes. And so like, guys like me that have done this for years, I've always done it after the fact and added to, because I just don't take money home to speak of out of here. It's material. So I would encourage council either now or in the future to have something in writing so that employees, including any other elected official, could have a choice to also have a deduction for a Roth contribution, because if you don't do it and you have a new elected clerk treasurer someday, different from the fine one that we have now, and I think we've always had fine ones, you know what? They could say, no, we're not going to bother with that. And it's important to have that contribution available to you. I just know that personally. And on that, I will be quiet.
Can I ask just a point of clarification? Do you say that benefit was identified in some other document, not the ordinance? Or not?
Not the, no.
We haven't been able to find
we
the
haven't been able to
source
find
of
it,
when
right.
we started doing it and why we continue to do it year after year.
Right,
It started back when either I was clerk treasurer or it had already been established, just before I became clerk treasurer. When Pam Bennett was clerk treasurer.
Okay.
And so there's got to be minutes that would address that somewhere along the way,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
We'll figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy enough fix if it needs to be fixed.
Right.
I don't foresee anybody discontinuing
Sure.
now. And my advice would be to pass a salary ordinance and we'll fix it.
It will never impact me because I'll never be in public office.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Here, but and that's fine. I mean, 19 years is enough. Everybody's tired of me anyways. I'll be quiet. There. Well, you will be if I stayed around.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, town insurance renewal.
yep, that was you.
I thought you were looking at me. I don't know anything about it.
Gentlemen, in your packets is a summary sheet that I drafted up that she's going to talk to you about just real quick. This is Terry Jo, if you don't know who she is.
Okay. Council President Peck, councilmen, and town manager and clerk treasurer. To go over this, when I talked to the clerk treasurer, Tana, or Angela, when I talked to her about this, I was explaining, I usually go through with the clerk treasurer piece by piece on what things have been increased, decreased, changed, what's different from last year versus this year, and then talk about the premium too. And so she thought it would be good if I would also discuss the same with you. The increase is about, I think it's about 1,181 this year. And when we went back through this, there is about $400, which is substantial of that part, in the auto. And just to explain this again, that with auto, I think you probably can relate to it in your own personal auto, and in the fact that when you go to Auburn and you see all the trucks sitting in the, in Auburn there that can't be sold because of parts. It's just been a year for all insurance companies for paying out on auto claims. You can almost buy a new car, then you can buy a used car. Those of you who've looked at that. So anyway, that rate has gone The, there, again, in the state of Indiana, losses are high. And so that affects everything in insurance. The second thing is that you have a replacement cost policy for all your buildings. And so all those have been increased in value. So, for instance, when we go to the buildings, let's say, at Cedarville Park Pavilion, last year it was covered at $861,465. This year it's $895,000. So that just goes through with all your locations, your garages, your personal property in your buildings, everything is increased because we have replacement. If we would do an actual cash value, there would be no increase on that. But everything has increased for that.
And that's guaranteed replacement, or is it just?
Guaranteed replacement, 100%. We have put these at 100%. We went through and did this a couple years ago to make sure that they were at 100% then, so that when they did their percentage increase, they would be based on that. Now, the one thing the company did do is they increased your deductibles on property for the buildings to $2,500. And that's across the board. That is a requirement for everybody in the company for Selective. They've increased that. So I also want to just give you an option, and I'm not sure, each clerk treasurer, we've had some changeovers in clerk treasurers. When we talk about this, when it comes to, most of the time, you guys don't turn in small claims, okay? And it's a wise thing to do, things that you can cover yourself. I would normally probably talk to the clerk treasurer about this and discuss what she thinks, and then she would come back to you. But at this point, I am doing that just to ask if you would consider going to 5,000, which I have a lot of big organizations that have high-value buildings, jump up to 5,000, you would get back pretty close to what you were paying last year. It would go from the total of the $26,063 down to $25,303.
Say that again. If we did what again?
Changed your building deductibles to 5,000,
Only on the buildings?
yes.
What is
instead
it
of
now?
25. It's 2,500.
That seems,
Oh, that's an easy decision.
well, that seems low. I mean, even at 5,000 for for the money we have access, it seems low, I guess, for what we have in investments and stuff like that. But so I guess the question to you is going up, let's say we went from 5,000 to 10,000, does that drop our rate significantly enough to make?
Well, and that's why I asked, because sometimes you've got these points,
Right,
that you get to a point that says, okay, this is a big difference.
right.
Then when we jump up to the next line.
That's what I'm saying, is it-
But I can find that out. We have, a little bit of time on this. I think we just need to, it's always an odd thing because it starts January 1st. Whether it's a township trustee or whatever, it's January 1st. And then that's when you start your new year. And it's right when your old year is still finishing up. But I can ask because, to jump up to that, I didn't, but we could see whether or not that's enough of a decrease in premium comparatively, jumping to 5,000. This is just jumping 2,500.
Right.
The next would be 5,000. So I don't know where their point is to where they say, this is going to be a lot cheaper if we jump to 10,000, or they say, we don't really have enough.
I didn't know. I mean, I know
That's a good question, though.
in previous positions, I've, had 25,000 just because to go at a 5,000 or whatever, your losses, I mean, if we lose a water heater and it leaks in there and it does a little baseboard damage, we're not turning that into you.
Right.
We're gonna pay for it, and we're gonna have 5,000 out of pocket or 10,000 out of pocket, right? So, I mean, does it make sense to push that premium up, or that deductible up, so it gives us a greater savings number?
I like the idea of finding out.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I'll check on the 10,000 for you. I mean, I can find it, and she's very quick about getting this to underwrite, and we can do that immediately.
Well, I have a question for you,
We
if
have
I may.
another meeting.
So my question would be, I think it's an ISO rating. If I'm saying that wrong, then I'm being stupid here. But the fire department would have a better rating now than it used to, I assume. Has that been taken into account? Because I'm not seeing anything personally,
Okay,
and I don't know why.
okay, so here's what happened on fire ratings. We went through this, I did anyway, to help. I was actually helping the town. I feel good about this. There's some things you do that you go, oh gosh, that made a difference. Back when we first got the fire hydrants in the town of Cedarville, we were not rated as a 6 at that point. We were rated, as a 9 protected or whatever. What happens to get that new rating is, unless it has changed really drastically in the last couple of years, is that the fire departments So we pushed to get that done, a lot of paperwork, and the Grayville Fire Department, the Cedar Canyons, they had to do a lot. There's a lot of things about how many units do you have, how fast do you get places, how many da. And so we finally got that through. Otherwise, because you've got to get that to the state rating for ISO.
How long ago was that?
Oh my goodness, when did we get our fire hydrants? When the town,
Okay, so the
No.
question more
it
specifically.
was after that.
So
somehow.
the last time the fire department re-rated, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, I don't know if you know the exact date, 2019 or 2020. And then according to ISO, at least it used to be, is they only allow you to re-rate every 5 years because it takes a substantial amount of
Okay.
change.
Oh, it does, yes.
Yes, so my guess is that they're probably just entering that window now and should have the statistical data to drive that cost down, hopefully from a 6 to probably, what is it, 5A, I think is the next one, is the next best one. It used to be, I don't know what the numbers are now, but it used to be, well, probably from a 6 to a 5A if I had to think,
Right. And-
which is what I think Huntertown is at, to
The
be.
the only reason I brought that up is because the previous fire chief talked about they were in the process of getting a new rating and thought it was coming out soon, and that was like, what, 2 years ago or something since, or somewhere in that window is my memory.
Well, if
Yeah,
they've
that's
started
it.
the process, okay, I'm not privy to that.
Right.
If they've started the process, it's just a lot of paperwork, turn things into the state, and then it has to get in the book. It doesn't matter whether you've got that fire hydrant there and it fits the code, it has to be in the book. One thing that's a positive, if that's the case, and you move into a different class, I would definitely, as a town, make sure you let the people in your town know that this has made a difference and helped them on their homeowners rates, and it's helped you on your town rate. So, but it's a process, and it has to be initiated and all put together by the fire department, and it has to go to the state, it has to be on the website, ready to go, that that the insurance companies can go to it and get it.
I
Does
would
that
think
make
that,
sense?
John, to answer that question, I think there should be in a window of availability to do that, again, with the state.
Okay.
I don't know where it is, I just,
Yeah,
one, I was in hopes with everything that's going up with cost and everything else, and with the additional manpower that's now in place there, that we'd be seeing an improvement in our insurance rates.
Well, we probably definitely would have if our budget wouldn't have been cut. So.
Your budget wasn't cut.
well,
You have
the
an
budget
increase in
we-
your budget,
the
you just
we
didn't get the
submitted
whole
was
amount.
cut.
You just
Yes, it
didn't
was.
get the whole amount you asked for.
You know, it
don't know how
was
this is
cut
helping my
for the
insurance
staff we
question
needed.
here, so.
You have another insurance?
No, well, I do actually have another insurance
Yeah,
question.
sure.
So I noticed that the pesticide, herbicide on there, that is probably because we're applying our own pesticides, herbicides, is that correct? Is that what that's
Yes,
for?
yeah, the council decided, last year to do their own. So that was an afterthought to the policy. It's rather expensive.
It
And
is.
so we added that on last year, and so we continue to have it on this year. So as long as you are applying that, that's what that's costing you a year to have that, $685. So really, in your budget, obviously, I'm not involved in that, but you just have to figure out whether that's cheaper to do than to hire somebody that already has their license.
Good question.
Sounds good to me.
Any other
So-
questions? And I will find out what your 10,000 will be, and I will make sure I get it right away to you so you can distribute that out. And I'm always available to you guys if you have any questions about that. And your new clerk treasurer's been fine to work with on looking at all this, and she's very organized and she gets it, so,
She's a blessing.
yeah.
So thank you, Terry Jo. So my question is, due to the time on this, if it comes back to 10,000 is more economically to do it that way, is this something that we have to vote on? Or is that something our town clerk, our town manager can take care of so we can get it off the books before the year?
If, in the past, up to a certain point, when there's there's changes. In the past, all of this is basically taken care of between the clerk, treasurer, and the insurance. And I think then they would obviously talk to you about stuff, but then the clerk treasurer would make the decision. And then there are some times that the town council themselves, okay, because she's obviously, she answers to
I'm good with that.
Was signed the renewals and signed.
You're looking for a motion to say that it,
Or
Give-
general consensus.
I don't care either way, I'm good with her solving it. If we wanna bring it back next meeting and then you sign it, if you feel more comfortable with that, I'm fine with that too.
We can do that. I'd like to see what the $10,000
Yeah.
deductible will do, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Well, if
And
you
we've got time.
send us out an email and tell
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
So do we have consensus here on council that if it comes back to $10,000 is, in her judgment, a better rate? I mean, personally, I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with that.
that's
If
what
we
I
have-
was asking,
if that's
and
what
you're
you're
the
saying.
only one I haven't got anything back from yet. Are you good with that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
good. Then general consensus, that, just send us an email and let us know what you did,
Okay,
okay?
will do, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I have to leave, but please feel free to call me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Terry Jo, for coming. We appreciate you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Town council, new business, wetland, delineation for the 17 acres in Amstutz Road. Miss Manning, right?
Yes, this is
Very-
Jennifer Manning, she's with Three Rivers Wetland Consulting, and she did the delineation report for you that you all received last week. And is here to answer any questions, if you had questions about it. I thought maybe that we might want to hear about that recommendation for this jurisdictional determination. It's my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you know more than I do on this, but this isn't necessary to do today, but I think it's good for you to hear what this would do to help us down the road in terms of permitting and the processes we have for selling the property or developing it someday. So did you want to just give a quick overview of what you found at the 17 acres?
Yes, so you guys have an isolated wetland on your property, it's I think 3.34 acres. When you delineate, I go out there and set boundaries and take data. It is my best judgment, the Army Corps of Engineers actually has to go out there and verify the boundaries. And then they also make the determination of whether it's federally regulated or it's state regulated. But there's two different ways you can have that verification done. It's called a pre-JD jurisdictional determination or an approved jurisdictional determination. A pre allows you just to concede jurisdiction to the Corps. An approved would basically determine it is isolated wetland, which it is because there's no surface connection to the St. Joe River or anything. The benefit for doing a pre-JD, it allows you to have more permitting options in the future. So for instance, with the Corps, you can impact up to 1/10 of an acre, and it's a 30-day permit, and you wouldn't have any mitigation requirements. But if you determine to go with an approved JD, the state law only allows you to have one permitting option, and this particular wetland wouldn't be exempt for anything, under the state laws for anything. So whatever you impacted, you would have to mitigate. So let's, for instance, if you impacted, it's isolated, you had to determine this as isolated, you impacted 1/10 of an acre, you would have to mitigate whatever, that 1/10 of an acre at 2.5 to 1 mitigation ratio, and that at $80,000, that would cost you guys $20,000. No matter if you conceded jurisdiction to the Corps, you wouldn't have any mitigation costs whatsoever. So there is a benefit to that. It also allows you, both the pre and the approved, the determination is good for 5 years. So if you went with the pre, at any time you can ask for an approved within those 5 years. So it's not a total, you're locked in. But if you do ask for an approved, you're completely locked in.
Okay, so you gave us, if I remember right when I read it, you gave us 4 different options, correct?
I think I do two.
Two? Maybe,
Agree and approve.
I was reading double, I don't know, but it was all Greek to me when I read it.
I know.
So okay, for me up here, I would like you to just basically tell me or the rest of this council what direction you would go if you were going to develop this property.
I always tell my clients, until you have the site plan defined, go with a pre. It leaves all of your options open.
Okay.
For instance, if you guys needed to add a turn lane off the road and you just needed to clip a little bit of the wetland, if you guys needed to put a utility line through there, a utility
Right,
So the Corps does, because the Corps system says, yes, that's a minor impact and things like that.
so we should note that after we get our plan set, that you can switch?
The verification's good for 5 years.
Okay,
And let's say you looked at that plan set and you're like, and you said, I'm gonna impact half of that wetland for, whatever it is.
right,
I would tell you then, if it's within your 5 years, it would probably be beneficial for you to do an approved JD. Call it isolated, because your mitigation ratio is lower with the state than what it
Okay.
is with the Corps.
okay,
So the Corps would have a 4-to-1, the state would have 2.5-to-1. So you'd save money on that aspect of things. But if you have very minor impacts, like a tenth or anything less than that, then do a pre-JD, because you don't have to mitigate or anything for that.
okay. So my question to you two also is, I didn't get to talk to you prior to you doing this at all. So, have you talked to our engineer, DRI, at all, Derek?
Oh, no.
Okay, so Derek knows that storm, I call storm sewer, it's storm water, that is collapsed all the way through there, okay, in front of there, which in his view, and him and I have talked about it, it's caused a lot of that development of that.
Yeah, it looks like when the subdivision was built on the other side of the road,
Okay,
all of a sudden, there was something that failed somewhere
Mhm.
along the line, because then all of a sudden that wetland
so
became a wetland.
So when we developed that road in front of there, they ran a camera, they couldn't get the camera down very far because it's collapsed.
Mhm.
So they know that. And we've discussed in council already how much the possibility it's gonna cost to fix that storm sewer. And, plans were laid to make sure that that's done. We even ran pipe underneath that road so we'd have to tear the road back up. Okay, so if that was done and they fixed the collapsed part of that, it's my opinion that in a time, that whole footprint of that's gonna shrink.
Potentially, yes.
Okay,
And that's why delineation's only good for 5 years.
okay,
So, because the dynamics of the wetland boundaries change. So
So-
they can change because of man-made
Okay.
reasons, or they can change because of environmental reasons.
so I guess, to make myself even clearer, where the direction I'm trying to go here is, how much of that wetlands, is it still a tenth of it at this point in time? Even with the idea that from our engineer, that the cause of that is a collapsed storm sewer, can we, develop?
Because the wetland was, essentially the way the government would look at it, it's like, at the time of when that was collapsed, you guys didn't come and fix it.
We didn't know about
Right. A lot of people don't know about broken tiles and
it.
things.
Right,
But once it's been over 5 years, it is what it is, and it's a wetland now.
okay, good enough. You answered my
So
question.
yeah, so you just can't get around it, it's just the same way as farmers.
You understood the direction I was going with that, correct, sir?
Yes.
Not you.
Okay.
All right, I'm looking at my attorney.
I think I understood. yeah.
Okay, very good.
But I hadn't considered this.
But she just answered it in full. It's a wetlands now.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
Right.
Right. So,
And plus with the storm sewer, it's probably complete an entire pipe.
Right.
It's not like a tile that's drained.
no, it's
So
a 10-inch pipe.
yeah, I'm a little shocked. I feel like a farm tile or something was intercepted or broke or something like that, that caused the failure
Okay.
of the farm in that field there.
Well, there's a lot of sugar sand there.
Yeah.
And my other question then is, so originally too, we had talked about, Eric and I, and talking about, and council in the past, I presented a whole layout of actually doing a walk through it or around it, a path around it, like a nature path, and maybe something over through the middle of it, so people go walk through and look at the toads or whatever's in there, salamanders. And so if we would do something like that and then fix the pipe, that footprint of that, from what I heard you say a minute ago, it's gonna shrink.
It all depends, is that pipe, you're gonna put a solid pipe pipe through there. You're not gonna have a pipe that's gonna be draining the
Well,
water.
it actually runs adjacent to it. It runs north and south along the road.
Right. Was it pipe already fixed, you said? Because
No, it
there's-
has not been fixed yet.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that pipe is collapsed and it's actually providing the water for that?
It's providing, it's making so the water cannot leave the area.
I think he's saying it clearly right.
Right, but the thing is that it's a depressional area in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you naturally have, unless you're saying that the water, the pipe goes south, I think on your guys' GIS shows like a pipe or something going to the south there. Like I said, that soil right there, it's a wetland soil.
Okay.
So I don't even know, even if you fix that pipe, I don't think the wetland would fully go away.
Okay.
It may go, there's a big chunk of it that is a very wetland soil in there.
Right.
And then it's surrounded by kind of like a soil that's not, it's like 100% and one's like 91% hydric,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? So it's not gonna fully dry out.
And my reason for asking that is to develop that, and my conservative side of me doesn't want to spend money on something that's gonna possibly go away. You get my point?
Right, I don't
Okay.
think it would fully
Okay,
go away.
there you go, thank you.
Yeah.
Does this have muck in it or something? Is that what's in there?
It's driven by a seasonal high water table. Just in general, the area is a bowl. If you didn't have that pipe that you're talking that looks right, along the road to the south, I don't know if that area would have naturally drained.
Well, I believe that Mr. Peck is correct that probably will shrink in size because I think it's grown over the years, from my memory at least. And I didn't grow up around here, but I
It
remember
did.
it's just plain gotten bigger, has it not?
Yes, it
Yeah,
has.
and I think it's probably because of that.
Yeah, and then the difficult part too with wetlands, so you have wetland trees and it's in a depressional area and the vegetation, and that unless the vegetation in the community changes to a more of an upland area, it will always probably meet wetland criteria in a secondary impact sense.
Is it possible, hypothetically speaking, that if the town fixes this sort of pipe problem, that it would shrink enough that it would lose the classification of being a wetland, or just simply its footprint would be identified as smaller?
The footprint may be smaller.
Good enough.
I don't think that it would ever
Okay,
make it go.
I have no questions further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Very clear. Appreciated that.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Mann? Okay.
So I guess the question I have is, if we wanted to take it to the whatever classification that was,
That one.
yeah, the with the Army Corps of Engineers,
Yeah.
does that require ordinance, or what does it require from us to do that? Does this require you to fill out the paperwork,
It's a
Tina?
form, yeah, it's this form.
So do we want to lock in and have them come out and classify it for 5 years, or?
My
But
question
I guess
is,
at the end of that 5 years, we have to have it redone, is that correct?
Correct. And then plus on top of it, it will set the boundaries, so if you did go in and did any tile work or anything, you would have that defined boundary of what is wetland and what isn't, that way
Okay.
in case you impacted, you know what I'm saying, you need to get in there, then you can do proper, permitting process for that.
And I'm with Tyler. It's pre-what again?
Yeah.
Jurisdictional.
Pre-JD.
Okay.
Pre-JD.
Thank you. So she's, okay, as long as she's clear.
So are
that's
we looking,
good.
I'd be willing to make a motion that we go ahead and have Tenna fill that pre-JD paperwork out and get that process going. And that way we can get it defined, because I don't wanna see us
Right.
come back 2 years from now and be in the same position and that thing's grown another 10 or 12 feet out. I'd rather get it defined now, and
Right.
obviously they're probably not gonna be able to define it this year, they'll probably have to wait in the spring, right? Is that about right?
It really depends on the project manager. Most of the project managers, I work and just verify it in-house.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason that we kind of hustled her out there before the season got.
Well, and I didn't know if they actually had to come out and do a double check or not,
Yeah,
so.
it depends on the project manager.
Okay.
Some people go out, some people don't.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and have it pre-JD, and then, we can figure out what we need to do with that pipe and get it delineated, and make sure we're good to go.
Entertain a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good motion.
Okay. Ordinance 2023-10 establishing speed limits and stop signs on certain roads.
So based on the conversations we had in the past, we drafted this ordinance, and you can see all the whereases explain how we came to this decisions. But basically, as you know, Lakes of Leo was recorded, the streets were recorded and deeded over to the town, but the town never established speed limits for those streets. All this does is put the standard 20 mile per hour in Lakes of Leo that is in all the other subdivisions per our existing ordinance, chapter 73, that says that all platted subdivisions were to be 20. And then we also, by the homeowners association request, have in here a stop sign in Lakes of Leo at the one main intersection at Annabelle and Leo Creek Boulevard. The other one is for that Amstutz Road, where it was decided from the NERC study that we could put 25 or 30 on that space between Donald and Hostler. And I believed after all of the conversations that we had in the past that it was leaning toward 30 because it's 30 on Hostler at that corner, it would be 30 going up on Amstutz, it's 30 going the other way. It would make sense to be 30 and not lower. So that's what we have placed into these ordinances.
Well, I'd entertain a motion to accept.
I move that we waive the reading of the ordinance 2023-10. Do I have the right number?
Basically, it's just a small kit that we feel applicable in a public building, obviously a school or a church situation. Anywhere that you would have an AED or the potential to be injured and bleed, you need to have equipment to stop that bleeding. Bleeding control is something that you don't have to be an EMT, you don't have to be a paramedic to actually do. All you have to do is really just have the consciousness and the fortitude to do it, to put pressure on a wound. This kit is pretty small, pretty compact, and has equipment in here to stop bleeding. But the other key to this is not only do we just hand you a kit, but we will teach you how to use it. So me or a couple of the guys that I've trained would come out to a business organization, to the school, a church, Amish sawmills. We've talked to some of the Amish, and we will teach the people there how and when to use this. It takes about an hour. This kit has a few things that we've designed in it that we really like. Number one is when you're coming up to a situation, you unzip it, it's going to just fall open, but nothing falls out. So everything we have in here is tucked in here. Because people are nervous, you know, they get excited, and stuff can fall all over. There's two primary things in here for stopping bleeding. Now, this is not I've fallen and scratched my, scrape my knee type kit. There's no Band-Aids in here. We did that on purpose. We kind of predict from just runs that we've had in our community, in our coverage area, this kit could legitimately probably be deployed maybe 4 times a year, 3 to 4 times a year. There are 2 cat tourniquets in here. This is my training kit, so it is a little discolored, but in here we have 2 cat tourniquets, which go on an arm or a leg. You tighten them down. It's like turning on a faucet or turning off a faucet, stopping the bleeding. We have these orange, and we've done that on purpose. Along with that, we have what's called a SWAT T, and it's basically just a big rubber band. These are designed for adults. The cat tourniquet's designed for an adult. There's a piece in here that will only collapse down so far, and then it won't go any further. So say a kindergartner. Sadly, maybe an active shooter situation, and a kindergartner is bleeding from an arm or a leg, and it's too small to crank that tourniquet down. We have 2 SWAT Ts. Again, we teach you how to use this. These in here, again, they're black, but in the kits, they're orange. The reason we did orange is because my guys are being trained. I'm training them that if we come up to a patient and we see orange on them, we're going to know that it was applied by a civilian. Not that we would take it off, but we will check it. Make sure that we double check it, that it's on appropriately and on correctly. This kit is, when I said it's designed to hang with an AED, it's got a really nice feature that I like, and that is it pulls away. So literally, it can hang on a wall right by an AED. Somebody says, go grab the trauma kit. They run up, and away they go. The last thing I'll tell you here, we have this card on here. And this card says, if this bag is used for an emergency, call 911. After use, return this bag to Northeast Allen Fire Protection District for exchange. So one thing that we don't want to have happen is you walk into Parkview or DuPont with a tourniquet on your arm saying, hey, the fire department gave me this. And if this kid is deployed, you absolutely should call 911. We need to be there. Not necessarily that you would go to the hospital, you probably would, but we need to be there. This kit is $200. You buy it once, and if it is used, you bring it back to the fire department, and we will exchange it. No questions asked, no extra charge. So you really buy this kit once, and then your business, let's say they use it in a year, you bring it to the firehouse. We just give you a new one, and then I'll make up the old one. I have 17 of these out in the wild. We've gotten a bit of interest, quite a bit of interest actually, and so we're excited to just make this starting in our community, and who knows where it could go. I mean, it'll deploy even beyond just our coverage area. So that's really just a quick overview. Again, if you would buy a kit, even if it was just that you bought it for yourself, we will come and teach you how to use it if you want us to do that. So $200, get you the kit, get you the training, and obviously if you have any questions, you know where to get a hold of us. And again, you guys know my contact info, that you can contact me and spread the word. Talk to your churches, talk to even the high school, as big as it is, and probably has its own planning and all that, but yet, do they have just a quick down and dirty trauma kit designed for 1 to 2 people is what each kit would potentially serve. So with that, if you have any questions, otherwise you can look those kits over. I can leave them if you want. At this point, I don't have any current orders, so I could leave them here if you wanted to look them over, ask any questions or think about it. But thank you for your interest in letting me come up and talk about it.
I have a question for you, if I may.
Yes.
So they're $200 a pop. I understood all your presentation, which was excellent. Is it your request that the town would buy them so that we can have them here in the town offices and things of that nature, I assume?
My request is ultimately just to talk about it and get the word out. Hopefully, the kit will sell itself, and if you guys feel like, hey, this would be a good idea, I want to make sure you know they're out there, know that we're out here with them, and that we'd be happy to place one, or however many. I mean, like, for example, you've got, a work truck, or maybe the park pavilion, and you just, have it hanging on the wall, or like you have a work truck and that guy is would injure himself, because you can self-treat if you have it with you, or if he has a partner with him, you say, hey, go get the kit, and they could run to the truck and get it. So that's a long answer to your question, I'm sorry, but
No, you did well.
I'm really just, the salesmen are promoting it. I'm not putting any pressure on anybody to buy them.
Sure.
And hopefully it'll just become a self-sustaining thing. The money goes right back into buying more kits for this future, getting them out to the community.
So, Mr. President, how many, and for council members and anyone that works here, how many would we need to adequately cover the various buildings and we'll call it rolling pieces of equipment? How many would we need to adequately cover this facility? Somebody, because I'm very much happy to make a motion based on some quantity if you could even figure that out tonight, because I think they're worthwhile from having looked at it before.
Why don't we let Mr. Strongzak and Tana talk about it and figure out, like I can think right now when he was talking, I was thinking of the shop out here, I was thinking of the pole barn, the couple of the trucks,
We're using chainsaws.
chainsaws, I know I thought of that,
Or if something happens, kids ride his bike and
Yep.
pretty good fall. Could be
Yeah.
there.
Chainsaw, is a great
The
example.
trouble with the only thing I see with the parks is, and is this just my side of it, either it's gonna be accessible or it's gonna be locked up in the maintenance side.
You can't leave it out.
You
No.
can't, so that's what I'm saying though, so like, if you guys are down there working, you have a piece of equipment down there with you
Right,
normally,
and
right?
vehicle, Probably all.
That's why I was thinking
So-
about the trucks.
I was like, so we have what, 2 trucks probably, and
And then some stationary.
then one in here maybe, and one at the maintenance barn, so that'd be 4.
Right.
I think that would be sufficient to start with.
4 or 6? How many pieces of rolling stock did you have,
That's
2?
what they're saying, in the
We've got
trucks.
2 parks, so
I was gonna say
Cedarville.
bulky.
and
But it's
there's
portable,
one
I mean,
somewhere.
if they leave one of the trucks and get in a snowplow, they can take it out of that truck and put it in there. I mean, it's portable. But I'm just saying, I think, I agree with Tyler, I think if, 4 right now is top of mind, but if they give them a couple days to think about it and to really come up with something, but I think 4 right now is a good idea unless they think of something else tomorrow or the following day.
No, I think 4 would be sufficient for them.
Would you like a motion?
And the training, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that the training from everybody sitting up here should benefit from it.
So, Mr. President, if you will
Yes.
allow, I move that the town purchase or put in an order to purchase, I believe 4 of these units is the conversation.
I don't even know if we need a motion, do we? Because it's in her realm to purchase them.
I'll withdraw my motion, Mr. President.
No, I mean, it's just, she's got $5,000, right?
Sure.
And they're only $200 a piece. I mean, I don't think we need one.
Then I would go this way. I believe it's our consensus that you at least order 4.
Right,
Gotcha.
Is that fair?
absolutely.
Is that fair to you?
What are we doing now?
Just consensus that we need to order at least 4 of them.
Oh, absolutely. Is it in the form of a motion or consensus? I don't
Consensus.
care.
Consensus and
Absolutely.
let her do it. I mean, that's why she's the town manager.
Absolutely.
Can do.
Well, thank you very much. I'll get with, probably Tenna or maybe Angela to, maybe we just schedule a training night for whoever you want to be there. And again, if I could just ask that you just talk to whoever you think could use one of these. And
One,
again, no pressure to buy, but even just to get me in front of people to talk and get them thinking and talking, I appreciate it.
one last thing, Ben.
Yeah.
Whoever squad car.
Is it been a thought to do similar to the AEDs where this house or this car is equipped with? And is there a way to get a sticker that says this building's equipped with a trauma kit provided by Northeast Fire District? And that way, if somebody comes up or is out riding, they can see that on a window or on a vehicle.
I hadn't thought about, I thought about this car, I just had this made up at the courier, I made it.
Right.
I could do something similar, we could get stickers made or whatever.
I'm just thinking, so that way,
Yeah.
you're looking for a way to help broadcast this, and I think the easiest way to do it is if it's on the side of the truck, that this truck is equipped with a trauma kit, purchased from, or, from Northeast Fire, and that would be an easy way for that to help broadcast that information.
Yeah, I'll think about that and maybe you can even help me on the wording.
Just a second, Ben.
Thanks.
Do we have an AED in this building?
Do we have an AED
you
in one of
know?
our trucks?
Do we have any in our trucks? What would the simplest AED run? About $1,500?
I just put in an order today for 2 of them.
Okay.
21 and change.
A piece?
A piece, yes. It's Stryker, Life Pack CR2 is what it's called. Literally just today put in the order, so could see if I can get more if you guys want some.
At least one for here, probably.
That's what I was gonna
I sent
suggest.
you emails today, yes.
I was gonna
sent you that email.
suggest that we purchase one for here. I mean, that would be on the wall, and right beside it would be that trauma kit.
Yeah, and actually, that would be a great picture to help promote. I would say, and I don't know for sure, but legally, do you need to have one here? I mean, that might be something you guys really do need to.
I don't know about
To
that,
have
but I'm
as a
just
public
asking, I'm asking everybody for their input. I would like to see us get one for here.
I don't think one's enough.
Well,
I mean, one in a building, yes, but we've got more than one location where events can happen.
Well, we have a rental hall down the street, the Cedarville, you mean?
That's what I was, I was also thinking about the trauma kit
Yeah.
there. They got a kitchen, knives, things happen.
But I definitely think we should have one here.
I think it goes back to, we give it over to Tenna and let her and
And Ben,
Yeah, I'll get with you
figure out what makes sense for our community and what makes sense for our town, and
Right.
and we move forward from there. I think that would be.
absolutely.
Well, I would like the minutes to note that I think that there needs to be certainly one here, which is the conversation now. But I think we also should be looking at having that same kind of device for sure down at Cedarville Park. And we need it in 2 locations, in my opinion, minimum. And I'd like the record to show that, however you choose to do that. That's my thought.
Thank you.
You're
very
welcome.
much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
And I guess what I'm hearing is you could add to your list if we were so minded to do that, is that right?
Yeah, in fact, if, I literally could say, hold that order, it's gonna grow, or he'll just add it on to the 2 I've already ordered.
Would it make a difference in price?
A better price with more? I don't know, he's under, like, end of the year special pricing is what he told me,
Okay.
so I could ask though.
Well, you and Ms. Winker will figure that out. Thank you. A lot on your plate to figure out.
She loves these meetings.
It's fine. My list
Okay.
is really long after these.
So that we went from 2 to 4 trauma kits, and possibly 5 if you wanna put one down in the other building.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Ordinance 2023-11, establishing a policy for investing funds for the town of Leo Cedarville.
So all this does is create the policy, which Tim adopted from another community. It's already been vetted. This just sets up your committee, your investment committee, which you had voted would be the council and the clerk treasurer. And it sets up the rules under which you're to be guided, and that's, talks about being conservative, not taking risks, all that kind of thing. But this is the beginning to set that up. Once the committee is set, then you all should schedule a meeting. It can be brief or whatever, your first one, decide what you're moving and how you're moving and how much, whatever. And then we'll come back to the next meeting with a resolution for you to actually make the investment. But it has been months since this was discussed, and we're at end of year numbers, which Angela is still trying to massage out, so we would know where we stand exactly.
Okay.
So this just establishes the policy.
So,
Go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna just say, the requirement to have such a policy just came to my attention during the course of the discussion
Okay,
of, investing into CDs.
okay,
And just digging into the statute, Angela pointed out, okay, we need a resolution or an ordinance to allow that, and then that process maybe actually read the statute.
alright,
And, so I just, Angela I can't remember which one of you, provided a sort of a vanilla thing from town of Plainfield. It looked to me like it comported with the requirements of the statutes, gives you a lot of latitude.
okay,
It just basically makes clear that, and you could change this policy if you want, but it makes it so that, risk avoidance is number one.
let's keep it simple.
Yeah, and I think the only substantive thing we changed was the composition of the committee, just to make it you 5 plus Angel.
If you've already-
Plainfield had different employees.
If you've already gone through it and looked at it and changed things, I'm good with it.
Okay, I feel confident that, and it's something that if we get down the road, as with most things, you
Okay.
use it, you change it later.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the ordinance of 2023-11.
I move to waive the reading of ordinance 2023-11 as submitted.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
I move ordinance 2023-11 as presented here at council this evening.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ordinance 2023-12, employee handbook updates.
This is pretty straightforward, except for the one last little item I slid in there. First of all, the policies you'll see, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 different places in the handbook where the probationary period of 90 days is referred to. This just reverts that to the 30 that you voted for back in June. So we just never went through this process to make it official in the handbook. So that clears that up. As far as the, down here where it says overtime pay, our handbook speaks specifically to overtime pay, but it makes no reference at all to compensatory time. We do, as a municipality, have the ability to pay in overtime hours in time as opposed to money, unlike the private sector. But it really should be in the handbook if we're offering that, so that the policy of time and a half and all of that is clear. So all I have done is taken a policy I've used in that I've gotten from other communities that has been vetted and approved. This just adds that language so that we can pay in time as opposed to money if we want. It's still overtime earned, it's still time and a half, and you still can't take it away once they've earned it, because it's still time earned. However, I did add a 6-month accrual period, so, but that's from each incident. So if you accrue it in January, if you use it by June, but if you've accrued it in March, so there's like a rolling kind of time. But it does keep people from accruing mass amounts of comp, and building it up. It causes them to use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, get so much
To you all too?
and start using it.
I understand it, yeah.
Yeah, so it just keeps you from getting too much overtime accrued in time. At any point, the manager can say, no, we're gonna go to pay, you're accruing too much, or we still have the flexibility to do that. And we have, just so you know, I found in files, we have been using comp time, but it has not been reported in our payroll. It has just been on a side spreadsheet that's being tracked separate. This makes it much more official. We can track it through payroll.
So I am recording it in payroll.
Yeah, we are recording it in payroll and we're tracking it like we would any other time off. And then the last piece I asked for was, it says in our handbook that all salaried people have to take PTO in all-day increments. We weren't allowed to take it in hourly increments or even half-days. We had to take it in whole days. And that exempt employees could take half-days. And we'd like it to be in hourly increments because it enters the same way in payroll. You enter 1 hour, 8 hours, doesn't matter. So we would like it reduced to 1 hour, so if we want to leave early for an appointment, we can use PTO.
Mr. President, I move the waive reading, my goodness. I move to waive the reading of 2023-12 in its entirety.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Mr. President, I move that we adopt ordinance 2023-12 as presented here at table this evening.
Second?
I'll second it, but I have just a quick question after that.
Go ahead.
So just for clarification, the rolling calendar seems convoluted to me. And like, so if I mowed overtime today, I have 6 months from today's date to burn that time or use that time back as compensation. Does it make sense to do it similar to our PTO, where at the end of the year we pay, you can accrue through the year and you pay it out at once? Or does it work better I'm asking you, I guess, from a payroll perspective, does it make tracking it harder to do it this way, or does it make it tracking it harder to do it that way?
So this is news to me.
Okay.
Personally, if I were to have my opinion on this, I would say we track this the same as PTO and not accrue this through 6 months. The reason I say that is because at the end of the year, you can only carry over 5 days. So it ought to be the same thing with the comp time. At the end of the year, you should not be able to carry any of your comp time over, or 5 days, however you want to word it. But there needs to be a rule. To me, trying to keep track of everyone's 6-month rolling, I mean, I would have to have, separate sheets in order to be like, well, he accrued that on January 1st, now June 1st he's got to use it, etc. And they are, constantly every week, I shouldn't say every week, but there's a lot of times where there is overtime. And sometimes they pay it out, sometimes they want it in comp time. So, if it's my personal opinion, I'd rather it be similar to the way the PTO is set up and keep things as simple as possible.
And that would be my preferred opinion, I guess, in the situation. I just wanted to make sure that my thought process would follow with what we use here. So I guess I would recommend that we make that change, that at the end of the year, it accrues to the end of the year.
Why don't you make a motion to amend?
So I'll make a motion to
this one?
amend,
I'd be happy to second.
I believe it's, let's see, make sure I'm right. Policy 4.03 to be, that'll be for 1 year period and that it's paid out by the end of the year.
I'll second the motion. Good
All in
motion.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So are we specifically,
Now-
I'm sorry, are we specifically amending 4.03, that second striking, or?
Yes,
changing-
subject to, let's see here, any, will not be time not taken within 6 months, accrual will be canceled, and the employee will be given payment for those. We're getting rid of that 6 month, and it'll be,
1 year.
yeah, it'll be the 1 year and paid out at the end of the year. You cannot accrue-
January to January.
Yeah, you cannot accrue it over the beginning of the year.
You got that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's, any more discussion?
I'm fine with the rest of it.
Okay, all in favor of the 2023-12 ordinance
As amended.
As amended.
as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
good. I will have my wife discuss
Oh, let's
this
do
with me
this.
for a minute. Alarm quotes for maintenance building?
Yeah, this was tabled from the last meeting. I had presented
Good catch.
previously a quote from our current provider for security services to put an alarm system in the maintenance building. And the general system overall was within, $100 of each other to what we, to do quotes. But priority one's policy for the fire detection system, it partners with the priority one security system and is cheaper than over the year than the other company. And that is simply because it utilizes the existing security system, and the other company has a completely separate fire system than security system. So you had to have all new equipment and all that, whereas this talks to that one, and you don't have to have this extra equipment. So this, I thought the priority one was a better overall proposal for having security and fire monitoring in the maintenance building. But this was just brought to you, both the two quotes, because we didn't have that there. And had
Make a
some
motion that we move with the priority one.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Changes to recycling drop-off site.
Well, we had a meeting, Angela and I were called into a meeting from the Allen County Department of Environmental Management to let us know that they are changing the procedures they have for the drop-off recycling site. Just basically giving you a heads up, and the one thing we would have to decide at the end is hours, because they are no longer gonna man it. It will be unmanned as of the last week of January. Larry will be relocated, so anybody out there listening who's worried about Larry, because he's very popular, he will get a new position within Republic. They're going to take away the big trailers, they're gonna bring in roll-off recycling containers that have, they're covered, but you have slots to stick your cardboard or mixed materials in. They will occasionally come and pick them up, it'll depend on how often they're used, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly. But there will not be people out there, and so what they wanted to know from us is what hours we would like to set our recycling, time for people to come drop off, because it's behind the gate. And we would need to unlock each day and relock. And they will make a sign for us and post it that says, this is unsupervised, our hours are X, Y, Z. And if we want Saturday hours, we would have to assign an employee to come in each morning and afternoon to lock and unlock. We've talked about it could be a rotation of employees where, so only maybe one Saturday a month Brent would come in, one Saturday a month Ricky would come in, something like that. But I needed to run this past you because we need to set hours on it. Since it's going to be unsupervised.
This is the same setup we had before when it got all discombobulated and
Yes.
messy.
it's quite possible that that's going to happen.
We're gonna have to maintain it, clean up around it, probably separate who threw what in the wrong dumpster.
So they presented, and I'm sure, I can share these numbers, but the problem here is because we put curbside recycling in, the tonnage has dropped dramatically, but the price and the cost that they have to pay to take that and get it recycled has gone up, and so they're actually losing money on us. A lot.
Question I would have for council to consider is, do we need to even continue to run the recycle center as such? I mean, are we obligated from the benefit to our community to still do that? Or I'd like to hear some discussion on that.
If they offer curbside recycling.
So my 2 cents is I would like to see us in the next round negotiate somehow recycling into a better price point for our community. Cause right now you gotta pay for that as a separate can, and it's a separate bill. Well, it comes in the same account, but it's a whole separate line item. So I would like to see us negotiate or figure out a way to maybe negotiate that in. And then just get rid of it totally. To be honest, the last couple times, I have curbside and my dumpster's full, so I ran over there and it was full and they wouldn't take any of my stuff. Anyhow, so I had to take it elsewhere. So,
Really?
yeah, the trailers were packed and the guy's like, sorry, I can't take any more.
Over there?
Over here.
Yeah, I know, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, pretty
I thought you were
regularly,
talking about
so,
curbside, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, not curbside. but-
I've been there, done that too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't wanna put another maintenance headache on our guys.
No,
In particular, I don't.
or blowing over our neighbors.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think,
You know, with that,
I hate to say it, but
hot.
I moved to my own curbside because of the issues over there anyhow, so,
I mean, Auburn has on the self you drive up, you know, they're right by their maintenance shop. I think some dumpsters and bins would work, you know, just keep them small. Or big roll-offs, you know, everybody just, they'll throw like a mattress in it or whatever. Keep it small, simple.
I don't have a problem doing it. I think we need to do it during our business hours and not necessarily push a lot of weekend stuff, I guess that would be. So it's open from 7 to 4:30 or whatever daily or whatever.
Or fence it, put an automatic gate on it.
Well, so that's the other option is do we just dump off that current lot with some millings this next year and put it down there where we don't have to open the gate, right? It's open and available to them. I was actually trying to think if there's someplace else in the community that we could put them that might make sense, that we don't have it gated off, and I just can't
Yeah, we
think
could
of it.
probably move the gate back and leave them up front, you know,
Yeah.
kind of where they're at, they wanna.
So,
I just remember when we had it before,
it was
got
nuts.
ugly. It was nuts.
And I know several churches in the area that's had similar, and that they've had to get rid of it because it turned into a nightmare, you
Well,
know?
it's probably not a good idea.
So,
I think we've answered our own question.
yeah. But I don't, at the same point, I don't wanna force somebody to spend another $40 a month to do the right thing for the community, for the environment either, so. I would be interested in maybe a 6-month, we try it during the daytime hours, see what their load is, and then we can revisit it maybe June of next year and say, hey, this isn't working for us, we're investing too much time and energy in keeping it clean, and we're just gonna shut it down.
So move it to an ungated space and run it for 6 months and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I would be fine with, if we moved it
Or
down,
just I like just doing it.
we do it right where it's at and just do it during business hours. So whatever you guys are currently running, I don't know, 8 to 4:30, probably, something like
Yeah, I
that.
think it's 8 to 4:30 is what,
Unlock when you come in, lock when you go home.
Go home,
right, I usually open in the mornings and
yeah,
Larry locks it in the evenings.
And not Saturdays.
and not Saturdays at this point.
Right, Larry will unlock it usually. Well,
Right.
it is.
But I'm saying we don't need to do that, just not do it on Saturdays and
Right.
see how it goes, and if we end up with an issue, keep us apprised of the situation, I guess, and if we end up with an issue, we can stop it at any time. I don't think we're required, we're not signing a year contract with them or anything, correct?
You're talking about smaller bins though, right?
Yes, front tips, probably 7-yarders, I would
Right.
think.
While we're on the subject of that, I got a question. Where we at with finding out, anything on chippers or whatever?
The cheapest Vermeer has a 1,000 XL, that's 61,000. The 1,500.
Do you have any brochures or any
I do.
equipment? Okay.
If you wanna see those.
Next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're getting into storage of leaves and branch material, so now we're gonna open a can of worms. There's a lot of EPA standards we would have to meet as far as.
Well, we don't have to take
slope and
leaves.
leaches. Right, if we don't do that.
We don't do that. No, I mean, we spent 161 or 169,000 last year on a brand new leaf truck. So we don't need to dump leaves up there.
Well,
That'll
they
blow
leave
over
it
to our
the
neighbor's
town,
yard.
Right, so the people dropping that off, so
Right.
eliminate branch material or just leaves?
What's that?
Eliminate just the leaves or branch material?
Well, you know, I think we need to have a place up there for like when storm, unless council feels like this didn't work out very good last time either, when we offered a service to go around and pick up all these branches and stuff. Yeah, when we have high winds or ice storms, whatever, so I think we offer a spot to dump our branches and stuff like that off, and we can use the chipper, you know, to keep it down and keep it up, right? And then we can offer the mulch to people if they want it. But the leaves are absolutely no.
Yeah, and there's a sign over there that says, branch, 4 inches and under.
Right.
Leaves and yard waste, grass clippings, so that'd be no to the grass clippings and
Yep.
leaves.
Exactly.
So with grinding it and having just the branches on site and grinding that, do we run into leach problems with
It
and
could
and cross contamination? And then what are we doing, even if we, so I'm just thinking of the mulch pile igniting itself some random night, which is a good possibility after you mulch those green items and they start to decompose, they get really hot in the center. So from a town perspective, I don't know that it'd be wise to buy one of those machines, and I don't wanna stop you from your investigative work, but I don't see the long-term benefit in that. I think we need to come up with an option, Greg, but I don't know what that option is yet, I guess.
Well, until we come up with a better option, I think we need to keep getting some literature and get some stuff around.
Okay, I've
Okay.
asked 3 companies to quote for them to come and grind it, or we purchase our own equipment.
Did you get a name of price tonight? I thought I heard one, but I'm not sure.
60 to 90.
60,000 to 90,000, just for.
Okay, that's not
Chipper.
cheap.
And
My
there's
breath
other
away.
equipment that he would need in addition to the chipper to get the branches into the
They need a
chipper, for
grapple
example,
knee.
and stuff like that. So he's been pricing parts for the Bobcat, the chipper, options where we could take the leaves or have them picked up. And we're trying to figure out different ways to handle it and then bring that to you as options.
So referencing leaves, there's gonna come a time, I would guess, in the history of this town where Mr. Ringenberg's property may not be available anymore. And for leaf distribution, shall we say, because he obviously mixes it up and makes mulch out of it and so forth. So is the conversation are we not thinking of maybe what we could do as a town
We did.
internally?
We actually talked about that too, and that was part of the investigation
When you
into
do
that.
composting like that, tenant put some literature on my desk, and I read it, and you have to be 200 feet from a well when you do
Okay.
that. So, and you can't be, 200 from another structure,
Okay.
for
Okay.
residents, so I think with our well from the maintenance barn, a well from the riverside, I
Yeah.
don't think we have 200 feet each way.
So.
But that's where we talked also about finding another off-site within our corporate limits.
Because the slope has to be right, it can't, it gets pretty intensive.
It seems to me that we're limited to find another place right now, in case Mr. Ringenberg decides to not do it for some
Well-
reason in the future.
I think we always have the option of going to, I think we need to reach out or either New Haven or Fort Wayne and
Lake Street.
Lake Avenue there, and maybe, to be honest, that's when I heard this conversation the last time, my first thought was, well, what's it gonna take for us to, 2 times a year, have a company come, Iker Excavating, and they load it in their dump
Load
trucks
it,
and they
take 'em
run
out
it to lake.
That's just, you just stole my thunder.
You know, so like, I mean, the numbers I'm hearing, we can run a lot of dump trucks for those numbers, you know, I hate to say it that way. So, maybe look into that and see if we can't get a municipal, 'cause I know you can get a municipal discount, or you can get a business discount, not-for-profit discount at Lake Avenue dump site, and see if we can't work with the city of Fort Wayne,
Hourly, so
yeah,
$70 to $100 an hour.
so.
So Robin, I asked Mr. Leak to hear, about what would the average, let's say, you don't have a triaxle, do you?
No, but you can hold on. They're gonna charge about $125 an hour,
Right,
so you might, with loading time, driving, dumping, getting back, you might have $150 in it, but plus somebody's gotta load it,
right,
per trip.
okay, thank you.
Cheaper than cheap.
All right, well, sounds like we got a lot of decision to make, so stay on it. Okay, thanks.
I'll tell you later.
Managers report?
Was there any other questions for me from my manager report this time?
Not really. At least I don't know anything.
I think we've hit on most of the things. I did mention at the very end that I know that the council approves the official town holidays. Angela and I discussed it, and we were looking at payroll and how that would be impacted by the last payroll of the year. It also happens to overlap with the Christmas holiday and all of these things. And we decided that it would be easier for her paperwork if we, instead of bumping the whole thing forward, because Christmas Eve is a Sunday and Christmas Day is a Monday, and normally that would have pushed it to having a Monday, Tuesday off. We backed it to Friday, Monday, and that way the payroll that falls that week prior could be handled before we go into the holiday, if that's okay with you. And then we would repeat the same with the New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because those are both holidays to the town as well.
Makes perfect sense to me.
So it'd be Friday,
Otherwise,
Monday.
you'll also end up with 2 3-day weeks that the office is open, and this will take it down to being just 1 week that it's only open for 3 days. That was the other thing we were talking about as
We need a
well.
consensus or a motion?
You don't need a motion, you just need consensus.
I'm good with it.
Me too.
Me too.
Okay. And just so you all know, I am on vacation the first week of January, and I won't be at that council meeting. We have time to worry about that. That's all I had. And then I think we do have a guest under open discussion tonight for public comment.
Yeah.
Jacob Gephardt.
I don't know.
Come on up, sir.
Bring it up.
Yep.
I believe I was messaging with Tenna
Yeah.
about possibly deeding off a section of road in front of my house. It's on a dead-end street. I don't know what information you need. I brought some printouts, or if she's got any other information on that too.
Yeah, I sent it to the council after we emailed yesterday, and I drove out there and looked, and this is his property here at Dunlap, and that's that multi-rose right here. And when you come back here, this is owned by Lakes of Leo, so behind them, it's not going to come through here because of that's already, I mean, Lakes of Leo is cul-de-saced and platted that way, so this road would not connect into there. However, if down the road, if this was to ever develop,
That's what I was talking about.
would you, this could be a natural entrance to get into this side, but it could easily come off this way just as easy. It's not, if you come up here, you're just gonna be at a T and come back, because it's not gonna go up into this property. Does that make sense? Because this is already platted, and we know it's not gonna have a through road. So really, the concern at his property is way up here at the very corner, and it's gravel, just past, like, just as you enter his property, it stops being pavement and it goes to gravel. And his request was, could we pave it the rest of the way? Because it is showing on the plat as our road, but it's not paved. And I wasn't sure if he should go and get surveys and petitions and go through all the hearings if the council wouldn't even entertain it after the plan commission and, you know, I just wanted to see if you had an inclination to say if it might be something you would consider or not.
I like to go out and look at it myself, because I think the part about it being tied in, it could be tied in, to the property to the
To
west.
this,
Yes.
But he's way up here, and it could connect down here, or, anywhere in here, so I guess that's,
I'd also like to find out legally, where we would be at on that.
Okay.
it's very much like when we vacated the alley.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, obviously you wanna maintain it, you wanna take care of it, you wanna pave it, you wanna do whatever you want. Is that your thought process is that?
Yeah, I like maybe a little flexibility of moving a shed, maybe right where that kind of jots out into closer to the creek right there, or more flexibility of adding on like another shop or anything like that. I'd just like to be able to have that area to myself if possible.
As far as I'm
Or
concerned,
pave it or put my own stone back in there, or whatever.
right, as far as I'm concerned, if our legal department gets back with us and said, there's no problem to this. This is a little different than vacating an alley,
Okay.
because this is a through road. This could be possibly a through road to
We're talking
something in
about
the
maybe
future.
To Lake Leo is a possibility.
Well, no,
or-
if the development to the west of it, if the Whitmers ever sell that property behind you,
That's,
that could be developed, which it will be someday, I'm sure it
and
will.
I've been contemplating, I just moved in like maybe a month and a half ago, but I've been
Mhm.
contemplating get a hold of them and possibly seeing if they'd be wanting to section off a little bit of that for myself too, but,
Mhm.
so that would be the benefit of just kind of having that whole section instead of just.
Right,
So, that was my thought
And I think
process, yeah.
if that happens and you're gonna, let's say you buy a chunk of property over there and you're gonna put a shop there, I think then obviously that negates any of the concern about drive-through or pass-through.
Right,
And I think this discussion becomes a lot easier.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I don't know how close I would be to being able to do something like that, but that was my long-term thought process, was to be able to maybe buy off a handful of acres from them and just kind of have that whole section
Corner.
back in there, yeah.
A point of information, so why would, if the town wanted to vacate that portion of the street, whatever, why would this gentleman have to go to the trouble of having the cost of survey and so forth? That doesn't make sense to me. I understand
That's
the
what we're
process.
doing.
It creates the legal description
Right.
that would be used to record the transfer.
Why would this
the
gentleman
paperwork.
have to be the one that would pay for that, is my question.
Cause that's how our planning commission, it goes to the planning commission works.
but what we're asking, before that even has to happen, is what our legal department says.
No, I
If they don't
understand.
have any problem with us
Sure.
vacating it,
Mhm.
and if he would talk to RD's daughter and she wants to sell it to him, then that would
Oh, yeah, of course.
totally, yeah.
I understand that.
But first off, even before they give you a yes or a no on that, it would be what Mr. Magus and his firm has to say. If they don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it. And then we'll go down the line, and I'm sure you'll be.
But I mean,
okay.
at that point, I guess what Tim is trying to do is stop you from getting charged, what is it?
That's exactly.
$25 or $425, whatever it is.
Well, the survey could be,
It's $800.
Right.
yeah, easy.
Yeah.
So it'd be
No.
cheaper if we just find out what our legal department says and then go from there.
Yeah, survey's $800, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
And would that just be to survey the, basically section of road to the Whitman property, that area there? Okay.
and then to make sure the setbacks are correct from their property and that the easement would exist and all that stuff, that's part of that process.
Okay.
I wouldn't do anything till we hear from our legal department.
Yeah, no,
No.
I'm just
No,
waiting
no.
to hear from you guys to
Which
see
is
what next steps
it
are.
could be,
Conversation.
it could be very simple.
Yeah, would be nice.
Yeah, we like simple here.
Simple's good.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Stayed for the whole
Nice
meeting.
to meet you. Thanks for moving into the area.
Yeah, I've been here my whole life, but in and out, Fort Wayne and Leo, so.
All right, thank you. Tanner, you have anything else? Special meeting Wednesday, December 13th at 5:45 at the Cedarville Park Pavilion for Amstutz Road quotes. The regular meeting will be next December 19th at 6 p.m. And that'll be the last meeting of the year, so keep it simple. So, anyway, Storm Board, Wednesday, December 12th at 7:30 a.m. Park Board, December 11th at 5:30 PM. Plan Commission, Monday, December 11th if needed, likely canceled. And Board of Zoning Appeal, Monday, December 11th at 7 PM.
And that is scheduled.
That is scheduled? Okay, very good. All right, has anybody else got anything else? Not being heard, meeting adjourned.